Hello, everybody. My name is Tamara Swearingen, and I'm here today to talk to you about ghosting from a candidate's perspective. Glad you're here. I wanted to draw your attention to the first screen here. This is my contact information. So if you want to take a screenshot of it, it's got my email and my URL. And I will, as you just heard, I'll be talking about ghosting from a candidate's perspective. And then Keith Halperin will be talking about ghosting from a recruiter's perspective. So I wanted to just tell you a little bit about me. So I have been living in the San Francisco Bay Area for most of my life. I live here with my immediate family, and I have two cats and a dog. And basically, I began my career back in retail industry. I had held some roles as children's buyer and store management roles. And a friend of mine said, do you want to stay in retail or would you like to try something different? And I said, I'm always open. So they said, why don't you get into recruitment? So I said, okay, well, why not? Why not take a look at it? So 25 years plus later, I'm still doing it. I've held roles such as talent HR advisor, talent acquisition manager. Um, I've held some roles in HR, did a little bit of dabbling in HR operations. And I just really, really was glad that I chose the profession that I'm in today. Um, with the combination of breadth of experience that I have to offer, I really feel that I can concentrate on client facing relationships and really be able to partner in with the hiring managers all the way up to the C suite leadership and being able to tackle whatever needs to be handled from projects to tasks. And basically, where I could tell you where I am now, I've been out of work for about 10 and a half months. And I have been acting as a part-time talent advisor for a company that's back in Washington, D.C. I've had a lot of fun working with the co-founders and the owner. And prior to that, I was helping out at other companies, putting together, practices and procedures, not only for the HR and the recruitment department, but also for the company, and would put together some strategies for keeping diversity inclusion goals together and being able to really fixate on that, and then also really getting managers to understand the importance and value of the candidate experience as well as the hiring manager experience. And these are things that we really as recruiters need to focus on more and more each day, and especially these days. Somebody earlier talked about the human touch. If any of you have seen my postings out there on LinkedIn, you know that I speak about the human touch and really being there for one another. Something I did want to interject before I started going in here is just wanted to let you know some of the things that I am looking for and open to is I would be open to a senior contract recruiter opening. I'm also open to a talent acquisition manager. I basically want to be able to be in a position where I can help a company, where I can add value and be able to be sometimes in a situation, there might be a manager too that doesn't really believe in talent acquisition. And I really like to be able to turn those managers around and get them to be believers in who we are and the services that we can provide as recruiters. So I did want to say that earlier on, but I just didn't want to stop and not tell you that. When I'm not doing my work, and what I do outside is I like to spend time with my family and friends and go to some art and wine festivals. I'm a person that loves to flip furniture and give them a new look. And I really just like to keep active. My favorite thing is always going to the beach and hanging out and just kind of getting some you time, right? So, talking about ghosting from a candidate's perspective. This is a true story, and this is about a candidate's experience. And so we've got the applicant process and we've got the interview process that we go through the different stages. So this candidate had seen a job that they were really interested in. They applied to it. They did their research on the company. They even reached out to the job poster to hopefully think that was the person that needed to connect with, because this person was so excited about this job and really wanted to make sure that they had a chance to kind of showcase their skills. So, time went by. They didn't hear anything. And of course, that's always, we don't know if our resume is ever being reviewed. If it has been reviewed, we don't get a notification until they finally fill the position. And then you get the rejection letter. And that's what happened with this guy. He basically wasn't considered for this opportunity. However, he did get lucky, and the next recruiter did call him up. It was another opportunity he was interested in, and they said, want to take you through the recruiting interview. That'll be with me. And then if that goes well, because the recruiter interview is important because they can make the decision whether or not you're going to go forward or not. Then the recruiter said, then it would be the hiring manager. And if that goes well, it would go to the panel. And if that goes well, we'll take a couple people to the final interview. So this candidate, I had the interview with the recruiter. That went well. And she set up she was supposed to be setting up the time for the hiring manager and this candidate. So unfortunately, it's that wait game. You never really know when you're going to get that invite. Now, one of the asks that this candidate did ask was for the recruiter to be able to spend a little extra time with him to help prep for this interview with the hiring manager. Because this candidate wanted to know, what is the hiring manager's style like? What's their personality? What's the personality of the team? And just wanted to be able to be prepped, in accordance to making sure that when this, interview happened with the hiring manager, they were all set. So candidate got the invite for the hiring manager interview, but unfortunately never got prepped for that interview. So that interview came and it gone. And the good thing, what came out of that was that the hiring manager did say to the candidate, you did well. I'd like you to go forward, but I have a few more people I need to talk to. So if we do for sure make you go forward, then this is what would happen. We'll talk to the interview team, and then I'll take two people. Like I was saying, would take you two people to the final stages. So of course the candidate was excited because they got firsthand feedback from the hiring manager, and the recruiter was supposed to get back, according to the hiring manager, when that was going to be. Well, time went by. It was the wait game again. And the candidate's like, okay, I'm feeling ghosted here. What the heck is going on? I haven't heard from this recruiter. So what did the candidate do? What we would all do. We reach out to the recruiter, send a voice message out, sent over an email, still no response. A couple more days went by. Finally, this candidate heard from the recruiter, says, I'm going to set you up. And this was a second ask from the candidate. Could you prep me for this interview? Because I want to make sure I know, who are these people on the panel? What are they looking for? And because these are people I could potentially be working with. These would be the team that I'd be working with every day. So recruiter says, no problem. I'll set you up for that prep dinner time, and we'll have that chance, and I'll get you ready, make sure you're feeling all good. And so the candidate felt good again. No, guess what? The wait game again. So he kept waiting and waiting and just felt ghosted once again. Got the invite for the interview to meet the team panel, but guess what? No prep meeting with the recruiter. So how do you think this candidate's feeling right now? Pretty discouraged, right? I would, because it's a simple ask. It meant enough for this candidate to want the recruiter to spend some extra time because they were showing their due diligence to want to do a good job in the interview, not only with the hiring manager, but also with the team. So, moving forward, it's a situation where, this candidate didn't unfortunately get the opportunity to go forward. 3 weeks later, the recruiter sends out a canned ATS messaging to this particular recruiter. Now, this candidate, mind you, had a recruiter interview, had a hiring manager interview, also had a team interview. But the recruiter, unfortunately, did not reach out to this person personally. And we lose that human touch. That candidate was owed something. And that was to have a personal phone call. And the fact that the candidate wasn't feeling so good about their experience here. So I guess you could really say they didn't really have a good candidate experience. And that's why it's really important to really be able to be there and treat people how you would want to be treated. In conclusion, basically, this recruiter should have called the candidate. This recruiter should have also taken the time and followed through on saying, yes, I would prep you for those interviews, but they didn't. So if you're a recruiter and a candidate asks you to spend extra time, make it a point of doing that. Hold true to your word. It's really important. It's not only your reputation as a recruiter, but it's the reputation of the company. And we need to do a good service and being able to be there because we know what it's like being a candidate. We know what it's like to be on the other side. I'm a candidate right now. I've been out of work for 10 and a half months. I've resonated with a lot of my colleagues here who've been speaking about different things and of value. And so we as human beings owe that to one another. So reach out, have that special touch, do the human touch, and follow through on things because it can make all the difference in the world. And it really, kindness goes a long way. So that's what I wanted to talk to you about. I look forward to hearing from you. If anybody would like to talk to me about opportunities that you have, networking, as we've been hearing this from everybody, is so of value and so important, and that we're there for each other. So I would like to turn over to Keith Halperin, who again is going to be talking about ghosting from a recruiter's perspective. But just very quickly, I want to say, because I do want to be mindful of our time today, Keith and I have known each other for a very long time. He is a very compassionate, warm human being who has a lot of expertise. We started out, we're probably one of the few first technical recruiters in Silicon Valley. And we have also been through a lot of networking events, gone to them, been part of them. And he's got a really good eye for things, and he's very kind and he's very caring with his clients. So I hope you'll take a good look at him. And so, Keith, I would love to pass it over to you and be able to talk about your portion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tamara. Let's see if I can now. Well, I can't share my screen. No big deal here. We'll make it work. I put my contact information in the chat. So here's a little bit about me. First, my name's Keith Halperin. I've had 30 plus years or so of recruiting and sourcing experience. I've had around 70 or so clients, that's 70, ranging from a 7-person startup all the way through Samsung. I have looked for, which means recruited and or sourced for over 200 different kinds of positions. About 75% of those are technical, and around 25% are non-technical. What I'm looking for would be ideally a combination role that would be strategic along with hands-on in recruiting and or sourcing. I'd hope it would be within a 50-mile radius of my home here in San Francisco. It can be either on-site, hybrid, or ideally, I'd love it to be remote. Anyway, enough about me. We're not here to talk about me. We're here to talk about the recruiter's perspective on ghosting. And again, sorry, problems with the slides. We'll talk. You can get the slides if you want. So we all know the stories here. We all know what the problems are. I'm not going to get into those. What I am going to get into is the solution or the solution, how to minimize ghosting. The first stage where we're likely to get into problems along these lines is the application stage. And what I believe is that all applications should be reviewed, but not necessarily by us. So we're getting too many applications coming in. What are we going to do about it? Well, one thing we can do about it is if we don't have to post a job, we don't post the job. Instead, we source for the potential candidates that our hiring managers are looking for. Now, sometimes we actually do have to post the job. There are legal and other requirements that often require us to do that. And in which case, what I recommend we do is we put in no more than 5 quick to apply, mandatory knockout questions to minimize the number of unqualified applicants that we come across. Unfortunately, I found out through the years in using a variety of ATSs is that most ATSs just aren't quite configured to be able to put together the knockout questions in a way that we would like. So can't do that with the ATS. There's another thing that we may be able to do with the ATS. And that would be to review and rank resumes that come in against an idealized resume or against a job description. And in this particular instance, I had a great deal of success a number of years ago using an iSIMS ATS. Very successful, liked it a lot. But curiously, for the years since then, I haven't really had all that many ATSs that allow us to, again, review and rank the resumes that come in to our system. So if that's the case, even if the ATS won't do it, there are tools which are available at this point that can do the very same thing. Again, ranking and reviewing resumes against an idealized resume or against a job description. Now, finally, there's an additional solution I have at the interview stage, which is we can have RPOs review the resumes on our behalf. From what I found out, an RPO can do this for us typically for the range of $700 to $1,200 per month wholesale. So now we're pretty much done with the application stage. Let's go on to the interview stage. And at this point, we're more likely to be dealing with candidates as opposed to applicants. So, we're still getting applicants unless we've closed out the job. Here's what I very strongly believe about this sort of thing, which is that each and every applicant and candidate is entitled to courteous, professional, and timely communication, and so are we recruiters. We're getting too many candidates in this particular instance, in many of these instances. What can we do here? 3 particular solutions. First of all, we can use a chatbot. Chatbot can typically handle around 80% or more of the routine communications that we have to deal with our candidates. And you can purchase a chatbot for as little as $350 a month wholesale. Here's an alternative to that. Let's say, don't want to use chatbots, can't use chatbots. What can we do then? Well, here's an alternative which I am calling the Candidate Care Representative, or CCR for short. What's a CCR? This is a person who does essentially the same type of thing that I mentioned above. They'd handle around 80% of the routine communications we're getting from the candidates. And you can usually get a CCR for around $600 to $1,200 per month, a wholesale. Finally, what you could do is, let's say we wanted to combine them, have a hybrid system using both chatbots and CCRs. This would probably handle around 90 or more % of the routine communications we're getting, and you can probably get it for something around $950 to $1,500 a month wholesale. So, conclusion I'm getting from all of this is the cost-effective tools exist right now to greatly reduce ghosting. Does the will to do so also exist? Well, I think that's a big question that we recruiters have to ask. So that's it for the presentation portion of this. What I'm now going to do is what Tamara did to me, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about my partner in crime, Tamara Swearingen. I've known Tamara for about 25 years, as indicated, and in that time, I've known and met hundreds of other recruiters. And frankly, Tamara is one of the very finest recruiters I have ever met. She has a very broad-based background. She is highly professional, and she is extremely empathetic. As she mentioned, she adds the human touch to each and every person she meets in the hiring process. So folks, specifically recruiting managers, you should hire Tamara, and you should hire her now.